Well, hello and welcome. We are live from our studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Thank you for tuning in to the week ahead with myself, Eva Wilson. Throughout the show and throughout the week, you can interact with us on our various social media platforms, including using @TheWeekAhead or using the hashtag #TheWeekAhead. Let's take a look at what we can expect. Right, Russian runner Alexandra Morozova has taken first place in the women's 2022 Comrades Marathon. She reached Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban in just over 6 hours and 17 minutes. All this while South African runner Tete Morena Dijana from Nedbank Club has won the men's race. Tete finished first in a time of 5 hours, 30 minutes, 38 seconds. For more, our reporter Vusi Komalo is live at the marathon and joins us. Vusi, good afternoon. We've seen live visuals coming through. The cutoff for the silver medalists also just having come to an end. Perhaps you can tell us where you are. What is the latest?
Yes, good afternoon. We are just outside the Moses Mabhida Stadium. That's the finish for this year's Comrades Marathon. We know that in previous years, the finish has always been Sahara Stadium, just next to SABC News Studios here in KwaZulu-Natal. As we are seeing, a lot of runners are still trickling in, all the way from Pietermaritzburg, which is the KwaZulu-Natal capital. We have seen a lot of runners making their way to the finish line at the Moses Mabhida Stadium. We know that the Russian athlete Alexandra Morozova has just won in the women's category, winning the 95th Comrades Marathon in the women's category. And also in the men's category, we saw the South African Tete Dijana winning this year's, which was a first time for him to win this Comrades Marathon. We know that the second placed Edward Mutsibi was also trying to defend his title because he was the last person or athlete to have won it in 2019. But this year he came number 2, and also a number of other high-profile athletes or elite runners were also able to get their gold medals. Today we saw even during the early stages of this marathon, Kobe also trying his best, but he fell through the cracks along the way. But where I am at the Moses, just next to Moses Mabhida Stadium, which just a few meters before the finish line. I must say that these are the very strongest and toughest people that you may think of, because coming to Moses Mabhida at this time, just before 1 or after 1, it's a milestone on its own, because even to qualify is a milestone on its own to qualify for the Comrades Marathon, because you have to run a time of 4 hours or just under 5 hours in order to qualify for the Comrades Marathon. If I can just tell you a bit of issues with regards to the Russian athlete Alexandra Morozova. She apparently went to court to challenge a ban by the Comrades Marathon. The Comrades Marathon were saying that they've taken a directive from the World Athletics, which gave them a directive to say that the Russian athletes, due to the doping ban as well as the Russia's invasion to Ukraine, so they will be banning all the Russian athletes who will be participating in this year's Comrades Marathon. But the directive was also saying that if they do participate, they cannot be given prize money. So that's why Alexandra went to court, filing an urgent application requesting to take part, and also if she is worthy of a gold medal, she be given it. So she went to court on Friday, and then on Saturday she successfully challenged her ban. That's why today she was able to run, and also she won this year's Comrades Marathon. So it's been a very tough time, especially for her. But we also heard the KZN Athletics President Steve Mukasi saying that they are apologizing to the athletes for the tough times that she went through. She had to go to court in order to take part in this year's Comrades Marathon. So that's the latest in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. But the KZN Athletics were also saying that they misinterpreted a directive from a guideline. So they were actually saying that those papers were written in French language, so they were not able to determine whether it was a guideline or a directive. But in fact, the Pietermaritzburg High Court did say that it was just a guideline, so they can participate and also be given prize money or gold medals if they do win, as it has happened that Alexandra Morozova won this year's Comrades Marathon in the females category. And I must also say that due to the doping ban and also the country's invasion of Ukraine, a number of athletes, track and field, as well as other sporting men and females, are not able to participate in other countries due to that ban. But I must say that in June, Morozova participated in St. Petersburg, that is in Russia. She also came #1 there. She ran a 42.2 marathon. So she's been ready. She's been training hard in order to participate in this year's Comrades Marathon, which has in previous years has been dominated by the Russians as well, in both the males category and the females as well. I must also make a mention that in 2008, Leonid Shevtsov also had a record which was broken by the South African David Khatebe in 2016. David Khatebe was indeed also part of this year's Comrades Marathon, but unfortunately he did not win today. We remember, if I may recall, in the press briefing he did say that he will participate in this year's, but I must also make a mention that other athletes such as Gift Keleche did withdraw from participating in this year's Comrades Marathon, decrying about the lack of money this time around, because the Comrades Marathon announced early this year that they will be cutting the prize money for this year's from 500,000, of which is R500,000 to 260,000 rand. So that will be received by those who are #1 in both categories.
Lucy, just before I let you go, thank you very much for that update. Obviously, you're no stranger to the Comrades Marathon, having run it yourself about 3 times. And I wonder, for what's left of the day, in terms of the halfway point, for those who are set to still finish the race, I mean, what are the stats and timings looking like for the rest of the day, for those who want to obviously reach the finish line within the allocated time frame? What are you observing on that front?
Yes, we've just been to Westville, and just before that we started our journey at Keto Ridge and then went to Inchanga. People were running against time. It was just a race against time for some of the athletes that we saw along the way. Some of them were not in line with the cutoffs, so were taken by the combis that are on the road, trying to perhaps take those people who are not able to meet some sort of the cutoff times that are there on the road. So those people are being taken care of by the minibus taxis that are going around and also checking about the health of some of the athletes that are here, because there are hundreds of minibus taxis that are here. They are also trying to monitor about the health issues of the runners, because some of them are saying that they are not able to proceed to the Moses Mabhida Stadium. So, but they are trying their level best. But this one that we are seeing now, these are the strongest people that you may think of to actually get to Moses Mabhida at this time, having run almost 90 kilometers. That on its own shows that you are one of the toughest people, a tough nut to crack indeed. But I must say that those who are not able to carry through to the Moses Mabhida are being taken care of. But the last cut-off time is 10 to 5 of which still early days for now. We're still going to see a number of people being also led by the buses. We've got a 9-hour bus, we've got 10-hour bus, 11 or sub-12. So we haven't seen those buses as yet. So it's still early days for now. We are yet to see those, leading those packs or batches of people that are coming in droves. Some of them are currently going through places such as Westville and coming all the way as well as to Pinetown. That's why they are being led by these bus drivers, as they are known. So they're coming all the way to Moses Mabhida to the finish. But at the moment, we haven't seen those drivers or of the buses that are leading those bunch of runners. At the moment, these are just people. Some of them are running on their own or individually. Some of them are running for, charities or supporting the vulnerable groups that are also part of the Comrades Marathon Association.
All right, so as we continue to witness the highs and lows, that is our reporter, Wusi Kumalo, bringing us the latest from the 2022 Comrades Marathon currently underway. The finish time, cutoff time being 10 to 5 at the Moses Mabhida Stadium. As we heard, the latest from him, Russian runner Alexandra Morozova having taken first place, and South African male runner Dete Dijane winning the 2022 Comrades Marathon. Again, it will continue to bring you the latest as it unfolds. For now, we're going to take a look at other stories that will be making headlines this week. It's been 6 months since South African musician Ricky Rick took his own life. The SABC News got to sit down with the late musician's family for an exclusive interview. We're going to be chatting to one of our journalists, of course, who conducted this interview, renowned colleague Iman Rapeti, to give us a preview of what to expect from the interview. Iman, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Liesl. Good afternoon to the viewers.
Just very quickly, why was it important to tell the story, perhaps 6 months after his passing?
Ricky Rick, of course, is, to use a word that you just used, a renowned hip-hop artist, star, fashionista, somebody who's very much a part of the pop culture. And so his passing came as such a major surprise to everyone who loved him, all of his fans, but more importantly to his family, of course. And just catching up with them 6 months after the event, I think was an important moment that they so graciously allowed us to come into and be a part of and share, because of that love that a lot of people have for him and a lot of care and concern that they have for the family, wanting to know how they've been dealing with these last 6 months without him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, without giving away too much, what were some of the things that you walked away with personally from this interview? I mean, healing is definitely not a one-day affair. It's a lengthy process.
Definitely, you came away with a sense, or I and the team really came away with a sense of the deep wounding that still is there and is so raw. And, you know, in moments of grief, when people, anyone really, is saying goodbye to someone that they love, and somebody who, in a way, they were not prepared to say goodbye to, that journey of healing can last weeks, it can last months, it can last an entire lifetime. And one of the things that was so palpable in that interview was just that longing that they have for him, but also just this deep, deep love that they continue to share for him and for the things that he loved, the projects that he was interested in, the legacy foundation that has been set up in his name to keep his legacy alive and to continue to do the work that he cared about, which was around, really reaching out to young people and making sure that they're taken care of. And I think it was a mix, Liesl, of both sadness for this great loss for that family, but also a sense of such overwhelm for how they have so stoically been dealing with their own pain and their wounding.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also looking at the support received from the industry, but perhaps also the family moving on, beyond the hype, let's say, once the funeral and all the proceedings had died down. I mean, how has that been for them 6 months on?
It's interesting, his younger brother Temba was talking about the pressures from social media. And people not realizing that these are real life family members of Ricky's of Ricardo's that are left behind, that they're not celebrities in that sense, and they talk about their brother as if he was somebody that was stripped of his own humanity, that didn't have a family. And it was one of the cautions that they shared with people who engage with the subject and the topic of Ricky's life on social media, that when they get to log off, the family doesn't get to log off from the things that are being said about them and some of the perceptions and assumptions people make about them, to just be more careful and more human in the way that they interact around the memory of their brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Iman, what time is it airing? Where can people tune in? What are those finer details?
Well, they can catch it on the Full View. Our program kicks off at 5, but they can catch the interview between 6 and 6:30. And I really encourage them to do so. If they loved Ricky, loved his music, love his legacy, and want to be a part of what happens next, this would be an interview they very much would be interested in watching.
Iman, thank you very much for joining us here ahead of that exclusive interview. As we heard, 6 months since South African musician Ricky Rick having taken his own life. SABC's very own Iman Rapeti sat down with the family members of the late musician for an exclusive interview. Again, that's airing a little later today. Thank you very much to Iman Rapeti for joining us ahead of that interview. We're going to leave it there, take a quick ad break, and continue with more on the other side. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching The Week Ahead with myself, Liesl Wilson. In other news, now voting for the 30 additional members to serve on the Provincial Executive Committee has been conducted at the 9th ANC Northwest Provincial Conference. Now, the second leg of the conference comes to an end in Rustenburg today, where earlier on, SABC News reporter Zebulon Maine spoke to ANC NEC member Obed Babela.
The processes of nominations of the additional members took longer, I think more than 4 hours, slightly, and then 79 names were then approved from the floor, which is 172 for you to get the name to go to the ballot paper. So we have 79 people, plus those who were already automatically qualifying, and then all of them are now in the ballot paper, and then they were going to be voting. And therefore the voting started immediately after that. Obviously we had to wait for another 2 hours for the people to go and prepare the ballot papers, and then voting started around 3 o'clock this morning. And as the people were voting, those who are done, they got their hotel rooms, and then they had to go and sleep as early as that or late as that. And then now, as we have said, that they are refreshing, some are already in. Commissions I have started with. Once there is a sizable number, the commissions will be beginning. But as you said, that by 11 o'clock, I think majority of the delegates will be here, because even the hotels will have set this checkout time.
So when can we expect the results of the additional members?
Well, between 12 and 1, we might then be indicated by the election, which is an independent body, to say they are ready with the announcement. And then we'll then call people from the commission rooms to go back to the plenary, and definitely it's going to be an open session, so that then we could then have a coverage of the event itself. And the Treasurer General, Paul Mashatile, will be here to then close the conference, because the President has attended the funeral of the former late President of Angola.
Now,
well, perhaps for the latest, we're going to be bringing our reporter, Zebulon Maine, who's live at the conference for us. Zebulon, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here once again. Perhaps you could talk to us about the delays in the conference this morning. What are some of the things needed in order for the conference to conclude today?
yes, indeed, the conference was delayed this morning due to the fact that the branch delegate left the conference venue here in the early hours of this morning, around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, as we were told, because of they had to elect the additional members of the PEC. So now after that they had to go vote for those who have been nominated to be part of the additional members of the PEC. So they had to after that they had to pause the commission for a while in order to allow delegates to go to their various accommodations to freshen up and come back. They were supposed to start at 11 o'clock, but due to some delays whereby the commissions had to resume to conclude their business, and then after that, then they pronounced the results of the additional members of the PEC. But now what we understand is that the conference has started a while ago where the commissions are giving the report, and after that there will be a pronouncement of the results of the additional members, and then after that Chairperson of the province, Nono Maloi, will give his speech. Then after that, a National Treasurer of the African National Congress, Paul Mashatile, will give the closing address. But we are told that Paul Mashatile is here on behalf of the President, as we know that the President is not here due to the funeral that he is attending currently. So Paul Mashatile will be standing by on behalf of the President in order to conclude the conference. We are anticipating that perhaps around 2 o'clock, that's where we can expect Paul Mashatile to give the address. As I have said earlier on, that currently the commissions are giving the report because it is a closed session. We are not allowed to enter, and once we are given rather it is an open session, that's where we'll be able to enter into the conference venue and hear what are the plans of Nono Maloi going forward from here after the conference, and also what is it that Paul Mashatile will tell the delegates to do as they go back to their various branches.
Absolutely. Perhaps just in conclusion, as we look at the conclusion of this conference in the Northwest, how, due to factions and the dynamics unfolding, is it perhaps going to influence what's set to transpire come December?
Yeah, well, when the conference, when the chairperson of the province, Nono Maloi, was elected as the chairperson, he said that what they need to do once the conference is concluded, they need to go back to their branches in order to reunite the members, because of there are too many factions that are taking place within the African National Congress here in the Northwest, whereby those factions are making our communities to suffer. As we know that our province is made by factions in a way that community members are the ones that are suffering in order to get the service delivered. So he was saying that after the conference they need to go back to the various branches to unite the members, to unite the branches, in fact to revive the branches in order to make sure that the delegates are doing what they are supposed to do in order to render services to the communities, because he's saying that the factions are the ones that are tearing the party in the province. So this will be in fact a build-up of going to the national conference in order to make sure that once they go to the national conference, they are going there as one, as united, instead of going there as factions.
All right, Zebulon, thank you very much. As the second leg of the conference comes to an end today, SABC News reporter Zebulon Maine bring us the latest from Rustenburg. ANC is set to conclude its Northwest provincial 9th provincial conference today. Again, closing remarks coming from Paul Mashatile a little later on. In other news, today is the final day of Miss South Africa's 3-day tour of the Limpopo province. Miss South Africa 2022 Ndavi Nukeri will spend time at her home village of Gavaza, just outside of Tzaneen. Our reporter on the story, Katlego Nyoni, will give us a little in terms of what is transpiring on his end. Katlego, thanks for joining us once again. We believe you're at a festival at Miss South Africa's hometown. Currently, what is happening on your end?
Absolutely there, Lizelle. Good afternoon, and to our viewers as well. We are currently standing at a local sports ground where a music concert and show is currently taking place in honor of Nokeri. As you rightly pointed out in the intro, this is the final day of the 3-day homecoming celebration, which started in Polokwane, then proceeded to the Greater Zanini municipality here in the Limpopo province. Currently, there is a music festival taking place behind us. We've seen some popular artists, including King Monada, who is also from this area, performing. Another artist by the name of Shongi also performing. So, Lizelle, it is essentially a colorful situation where you're seeing the locals here at Gavaza village, where Nokeri is from, celebrating and cheering her on. I'm standing with some of the school learners from this area at Pangasasa High School, where the program began, who are quite excited and enthusiastic, Lizelle, to be witnessing this moment. I'm standing with Tabang. Tabang, how are you today? You are here seeing this concert. You saw Miss South Africa visiting your high school. Tell me about how you're feeling.
Actually, thank you, Kat. Today I'm so happy because Miss SA decided to visit her own village. As you can see at the background, the place is packed. We are so happy she came to visit us today. We are so happy she won. And as you can see, guys, people are filled. We are happy. We celebrate with her. And we love her so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tabang, for that. And now, Lizelle, there is another young man. Is it Brian?
Yeah, Brian.
Hi, Brian. How are you feeling about today?
I'm so happy today. For the first time I was seeing Miss South Africa live. Was so happy today.
Thank you very much, Brian. And then this beautiful young lady from the area, Gavaza. You also go to Pangasasa High School. Your name is Nico. You are a young girl. How has Ndabi Nokeri inspired you as a young woman?
It inspired me to never give up in life. When I see an opportunity to do something that I really want so bad, it gives me an opportunity that if I really want to do something, I have to do it with all my power. For me to be someone, I have to work hard like a slave in order to do it.
Thank you very much, Nico. That's one of the young people from Gavaza village. Of course, we are also seeing some elderly people who also here coming to celebrate and take part in this mini concert. Minjani, tell me about today. How are you feeling?
Yo, today is a big wow, a very big day, especially for youth. She's done a day by the grace of God. For her life, we give God the glory, and for her parents. It's an eye-opening, for our children. They will have a confidence that even if you come from a rural place, as long as you have the backup and the support and the confidence and self-esteem within you, you can make it. Yo, she made our day. I say to her, God bless.
I can.
Thank you.
Shorty, for me, how are you feeling?
Okay, ni fela kahle ngopfu a hi nga tshembi swa ku swi nga endleka mara hi matimba ya Xikwembu swi endlekile hi khensa Xikwembu hi le ku tiphineni handle ka Xikwembu a swi nga ta endleka leswi ha khensa hi veke mbepeni a hi nga tshembi swa ku namuntlha swi nga endleka swilo swa ku fana na leswi hinkwaswo hi tolovele ku swi huma matikweni ya man'wanyani mareni sweswe leswi kwala kaya kwala matikweni kwala Dzanini kwala ya u endle munhu Ndavi ha khensa Xikwembu xi vi na wehe xi ku kotisa u ya ka universe inkomu
ku khensa mina mani. Lizelle, those are some of the fans who've been cheering Ndabi since she arrived here at her village, Gavaza, since the morning. There is currently a music festival taking place, Lizelle. It's a scorcher of a day here in the Greater Zanini municipality. We've been here from the morning, and this is the final day of the 3-day home welcoming celebration and tour to celebrate Miss South Africa 2022 Ndabi Nokeri. Lizelle?
Just for those who are obviously not privy to being in attendance, the festival in terms of the lineup, who's set to perform, I mean, who are some of those artists, what can we expect? And obviously looking at her reign and the legacy she hopes to impart, what's next after this festival for Miss South Africa?
Well, what essentially is next for Miss South Africa, Lizelle, is her work in the education sphere, where of course she is committed to working with communities in uplifting the situation that is facing some of our rural schools. She has said, especially after being crowned, that she intends to improve the situation with regards to education in the country. You asked about the lineup. Some of the artists that we have seen perform here include King Monada, who is from this area. We've seen an artist by the name of Shongi, and of course there is some local DJs also entertaining the crowds. Lizelle?
A proud moment for South Africa indeed. Katlego, you've done a great job. Thank you for bringing us the latest there. Again, wrapping up as the final day of Miss South Africa's 3-day tour of the Limpopo province. Concludes today. Again, Miss South Africa 2022, Ndavi Nukeri, spending time at her home village of Gavaza, just outside of Tzaneen. Let's take a quick ad break and continue with more news and updates. You're, of course, watching The Week Ahead. We will be right back.
During the 5th Global Conference on the Elimination of Child Labour.
The Week Ahead continues. Welcome back. The 24th of September is the day where South Africans will celebrate diverse cultural wealth of our nation. South Africans obviously celebrating the day by remembering the cultural heritage of the many cultures that make up our beautiful population. Joining us for discussion on this, as we're joined by Professor Musa Xolus, founder of the Indonsa Yesizwe and executive director of the Heritage Development Trust. This as we enter the month of September, which of course marks Heritage Month in South Africa. Prof. Ninjani, thank you for joining us here on the SABC today.
Thank you very much, my sister. Thank you, and also to your viewers.
It's 28 years since democracy, and perhaps over the years, Heritage Day has been celebrated by South Africans. But I wonder if you could contextualize just how far we have come with our diverse heritage since the dawn of democracy.
Well, there are two levels. At the level of the people, the various peoples in South Africa, people seem to understand a lot about heritage and the diversity that we find in the country. I've seen, for example, that you'll have festivals in Cape Town that reflect the cultural heritage of that region. You'll have what will happen here in KwaZulu-Natal will reflect the cultural heritage of this place. And I've seen also a lot of multicultural displays of different cultural heritage in terms of performance. But then in terms of what you see, for example, in museums, usually the displays there don't really reflect the cultural diversity that we find in the country. The museums that we found in 1994 are still the same museums. There's only been a few, 2 or 3 additions throughout the country. The problem is that there's no clear policy framework that is being followed to transform the face of official heritage in the country, but at the level of the people. And if you look at heritage not only as artifacts and so on, but also the dress styles, the history, the knowledge, the languages, and so on, there's a lot of activity on the ground that people are becoming aware, and actually people are pushing an agenda of heritage diversity. Find us in our diversities. That is what is happening on the ground. But at official government policy level, I've not seen a lot of that. I've also not seen a lot of capitalizing on our diverse cultural heritage to promote tourism and local economic development. There seems to be a disjuncture there. I don't know what is causing it, because globally, heritage tourism accounts for over 40% of all tourism that happens. But if you don't capitalize on that, maybe you think that heritage activities, artifacts in the past is just for the feel good. You could be missing the point there. I think there should be more focus on heritage economics, which includes local economic development using the heritage resources, of which people are very proud. And at some stage, Bishop Tutu even referred to us as a rainbow nation. That has not been transformed into active cultural heritage programs that assist with job creation, that employment, and adding onto the feel of places.
So, Prof, with that said, how much of a contribution, in your opinion, would you say has marking Heritage Day done to help foster social cohesion amongst the many diverse cultures that we obviously have in our country, based on the 2 levels you've now just explained?
I think that what needs to happen now? Well, okay, let me start with how far it has helped. It has helped a lot. I think South Africans from different spheres of cultural background and so on are finding each other and are becoming tolerant of one another. When in the past few weeks we've been working on the issue of the Zulu King and the coronation and so on, I was phoned by Afrikaners saying, listen, we are South Africans, we have our culture, but would love to associate a lot more with the Zulu culture. So there's lots of tolerance now, there's lots of people wanting to find one another and so on. One thing missing, which I think should be done at government level, maybe whoever has resources, is visitations at family level, where you will have your colored children visiting black family, staying there for a weekend and finding out how they live. And you'll find that our lifestyles are not as different as used to be emphasized in the past.
Absolutely. So with that then said, what do you then make of the Heritage Day, of Heritage Day, the narratives around it, where some reduce it to what they call Braai Day?
Well, it's unfortunate, but maybe Braai is their heritage. So it's not the official name of the day. The official name of the day is Heritage Day. And it came out of a situation which happened on the 24th of September, 1824, where King Shaka Zulu the Great was murdered by members of the Zulu royal family. And that became a day when the ANC was formed. The likes of Dr. J.L. Dube, Pixley Saraseme, Nkosi Albert Ntuli, Nkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi, became very clear that that day needs to be celebrated. It was celebrated in the old KwaZulu government headed by Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. And when the negotiations started to formulate new holidays in the new South Africa, the day was then accepted by all under the leadership of President Mandela as the National Heritage Day. So it has a history. It did not just come from nowhere. It has a clear history. And it is that history that makes us tolerant when other people come and say, but Braai is our heritage. Let us celebrate Braai on this day. You cannot say, no, let's all go to Watugoza and commemorate Shaka. It's a day which makes each and every one of the 11 or 13 or 15 peoples, ethnic peoples and so on, and nations in South Africa, that you should look at yourselves and say, we've come from this far. And on this day, we are taking this from the past, and we want it to be part of the formation of our identity today so that we can preserve it for future generations. Go to your own and find out there. And when you go to Heritage Day, that's what you put on the table. And that table will be multicolored.
Well, Prof, then with, looking at future generations, since Heritage Day came into existence, do you think it has in any way contributed to perhaps younger generations getting to understand more about the different cultures, but also embracing the cultural practices as opposed to being influenced from outside more Western influences? How do you think that narrative and perceptions also shift over the years across the generations?
It's becoming better now, my sister. I can tell you, I can also tell your audience, it's becoming much better. Although I must say maybe there should have been more of cultural heritage education in the school system to create awarenesses of the resources, because the resources that you have here, the cultural heritage resources that you have here are huge. Right now, everyone wants to come here and make a film about Shaka Zulu, a film about this, a film about... They come from America, they see the value, which we don't see. I would say younger people today are learning every day. At the Heritage Development Trust, we interact with them all the time. But there is a gap slightly in the sense that the education part of it is not completely taken care of. If we could have that, a culture-based education system, because education is culture in any event, if we could have more of that, we would be able to look at ourselves and see the resources that we have. If you go to Europe, for example, summertime is touring time. There is festival all over. People are touring and the economic grows as a result of summertime.
Yes.
We could have also a similar situation here where we say, come September. From September to February is touring time. We want to know more about those vendor cultures. We in KwaZulu are getting to buses and trains, and we're touring Wavend, and they're all in the streets and display, putting their cultural heritage on display. I think the government, and I challenge more the Department of Arts and Culture, nationally and provincially, that they should get more of knowledgeable people to assist with the formulation of the way forward in this.
Absolutely, Prof. About exporting and embracing, being intentional about utilizing the creative economy as well as education. I mean, we know that a nation who understands where it comes from is very clear about where it's headed. We'll leave the conversation there. Thank you very much for joining us again. On the 24th of September is obviously the day where South Africans celebrate the diverse cultural wealth of our nation. South Africa is celebrating Heritage Day on the 24th of September. Professor Musa Kulu, and he's the founder of the Undonsa Yesizwe and executive director of the Heritage Development Trust. Just speaking ahead of what we can expect as we mark and usher in the month of September, which will be also marking Heritage Month right here in South Africa. Thank you to him once again for his time. We will take a quick ad break. There is more on the other side. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. In other news, the arrest of an 81-year-old Kroonstad woman for illegal occupation of land continues to cause an outcry in her community. At the time of her arrest, her 6-month-old great-grandchild was also in her care. Thokozile Mbele has been charged with trespassing and is set to stand trial from August 31st after her arrest back in May. The Motaka local municipality had issued an eviction order for all illegal land occupation, but she says she has been applying for a house for years without any success.
Landless and without a home, even in her twilight years, she knows no rest. She was arrested for erecting a shack to house her family. The elderly Thokozile Mbele is among many South Africans who have been waiting for years for a house. She continues to sit on the government's waiting list to receive a house, but desperation caused her to illegally occupy land in Maokeng, Kroonstad, an action that led to her arrest and humiliation.
I have suffered. It's been a long time of suffering like this. I can't get a place to stay. I don't know why. It's been years applying for a house. I can't even remember the year I started looking for a house, but it's been years, and I can't get a house. I'm suffering.
On the day of her arrest, her granddaughter was fetched by police from her workplace and also arrested for trespassing.
I have a small child of 6 months, and she is still breastfeeding. They told me to leave my child with a nanny. Indeed, we were taken to the cell with my child, who was already hungry and crying and wanted to feed. Why is our black government doing this to us? Other people get houses, but not us. We are just told we are on the waiting list.
The Azanian People's Organization says the indignity suffered by landless black people is an injustice.
Outside of the fact that we are looking at the indignity within which an 82-year-old was treated, but it's the kind of indignity that black people are subjected to. It's the indignity of not having land in the land of their birth. Nobody thinks that when you are born in this country, you need to be allocated space within which you must live. You must live and become 82 years old without a place of staying.
Mukaka Municipal Manager Mzwakhe Mufugeng says the municipality does not condone land grabs, but will assist Mbele and restore her dignity. The municipality has also admitted that there are huge backlogs in terms of site allocations.
I will personally, as the municipal manager, do everything possible to ensure that the old lady, one, gets a roof under her head. Even if it's temporary, that will be done. Secondly, I will look into how can we best assist her. Even if we have to make a representation to the Director of Public Prosecution in the province or to the senior public prosecutor in the area for this case to be re-looked into. Remember, I came in 2 months ago, so this happened before my arrival. But I don't definitely agree with subjecting an 81-year-old lady to this kind of things.
The Free State Department of Human Settlements says Mbele and others like her should have shelter provided to them.
The MEC has further said that he is hopeful that efforts that are made by the municipality to make representations to the National Prosecuting Authority to have the case removed on humanitarian grounds, given the fact that the old lady does not have a house, that these will be successful.
Unfortunately, Mbele is not the only South African desperate for a piece of land, as others continue to erect shacks on land that has not been allocated to them. Kamogelo Siekwi, SABC News, Kroonstad.
Meanwhile, a wall of remembrance and a plaque was unveiled at the site where Nathaniel Julies was killed. Nathaniel was allegedly shot by a police officer just meters away from his home in Eldorado Park back in 2020. Earlier on, our reporter Crisalda Lewis spoke to Nathaniel's mother.
I'm still calling for closure. Yeah, it's a big, feeling that I have. It's overwhelming. For the political alliances just to be here, it means so much to me because their support means a lot to me. Sometimes you need that family that's supporting you all the way, especially we as a small family. And for us, it's overwhelming that the political alliances are standing all behind us, through all of this trial and everything that's been happening during the years. They are still standing with us, and I just appreciate them so much. I just want to say thank you. The one that needs the glory the most, it's God. God is the one that's established in our lives. When we fall, He rose us again. And when you're down, He picks you up. And it's our Heavenly Father is always there with me through all of this trials and stuff that I've been through all those years. It's now for 2 years that I've been, just one justice. But I know God is going to come through for us, as a family, as a political family. And, we're just going to have closure. And I just want that day to be an amazing day, just rejoicing, because we can rejoice for a lot of things, but for getting justice, it's tough because sometimes you don't even get justice, and justice isn't being served because of our colored, our colored nation, and they just put you aside. But I thank God for His stepping in, and I thank the community for stepping in that present moment when Nathaniel loses his life. They were there, and just, they didn't keep quiet. They raised their voices, and here we are today.
Yeah. The trial is starting again in October, Bridget. I mean, surely you were hoping that by this time at least there would be some form of justice, but unfortunately the presiding judge in the matter has passed away. So the trial basically has to start again.
Yes, the previous magistrate passed on, but God is never too late and He's never too early. He's right on time, and I believe that things are happening for a reason. It's not a loss that our previous magistrate, we salute him 100%, and we just want to thank his family, for that opportunity that that he could serve us half of the justice that's been done. He made a massive work on this case, and we're going to take it from there.
Well, despite multiple interventions, child marriages appear to be on the rise in Tanzania, with an estimated 3 in 10 women in the country getting married as children. Tanzania is believed to have the 11th largest number of child brides worldwide. SABC's Isaac Lukando has more on that story.
Child marriages in Tanzania still pose a significant challenge to the country's development. While reports indicate that the number of child marriages in the country have halved over the last 5 decades, the problem is still prevalent in some parts. In Shinyanga, one of the country's most affected regions, 42 incidents of child marriages have been reported this year alone, compared to 19 in 2021. The practice, officials say, is exposing young girls to sexual exploitation and denying them the right to education. To address the issue, the government, in conjunction with the United Nations, has recently launched a campaign to end child marriages in the country. It focuses on changing social perceptions, bridging the education gap and dealing with poverty, which experts say are issues at the heart of the problem. Activists say the country's over 50-year-old law on marriage also needs to be reviewed. Although successfully challenged in court 6 years ago, it still allows girls as young as 14 to be married as long as their parents consent to it. Isaac Lukando, SABC, Dar es Salaam.
Well, that is where we leave it for you today. Thank you very much for tuning in. From myself and the rest of the team, until next time, it's goodbye for now.